The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hello and welcome to the Happiness Jungle TV show. My name is Cami Baker, CamiBaker.com, and I am the guest host of the Happiness Jungle today, and I am super excited to have yet another one of my dynamic, another queen of the jungle, and that would be Miss Kat Blake. Kat and I met, Kat and I met at an event, two months ago?
A couple months ago, yep.
2 months ago, and it was a networking, or as I call them, net webbing.
Yep.
Well, those are networking events because they don't do what I do, but net webbing is what works. So we're at this net webbing event, and we just had great energy.
Yeah, it was, well, you have great energy, and I think, you're, like you talk about being a heart-centered person, you're so warm and open and can talk to anybody in the room, so I was immediately drawn to you. So,
nice.
Yes.
Well, thank you
for that. So I'm really
that.
honored to be here, so thank you.
Well, you're welcome, and thank you for being here. And I want you to fill everybody in on exactly, I'm a big proponent of not saying what do you do, but more about why you do it and how you do it. And I just love that as heart-centered, visionary, forward-thinking entrepreneurs are drawn to each other. And that's basically who I'm having on the show recently. So you're in good company.
Yeah.
So tell us why you do what you do.
So for me, it's definitely a blend of personal and my professional life. So I am a trained child and family psychotherapist. And for years, families were coming in, bringing their children in for anxiety and depression. And as you know, the statistics are that 50% of first marriages end in divorce. And I realized that I needed to help my folks, and I wasn't really sure how. And when I went back into the research and tried to get some supervision, there was just a complete lack of information. But I was really trying. Then I went through my own very high conflict divorce about 10 years ago. And I started to realize, even as somebody who should know what she's doing, somebody who's professional, that I was really working from a base of fear and hypervigilance and emotion, and I made a lot of decisions that ended up costing me a lot of money in my divorce. So I came out the other end just saying divorce has got to be better. There's got to be a different system. There's got to be a way for people to get through divorce where they're able to co-parent, their finances are intact, their emotions are intact, their self-esteem, their integrity is not just intact, but better, that they can thrive after the process. So I went back and became trained as a certified divorce coach and have been moving my business to doing more of that. So
there's actually a certificate for being a divorce coach.
There is one training program.
Do tell.
It's based out of Florida. It's 6 months. It's a pretty intensive program. Most people come with their own personal experience of divorce. A lot of us are therapists or attorneys or mediators, and we just want to know how to help people with their emotions as they get through divorce. It's a great program.
So as a therapist, you took another class for 6 months specifically around divorce. And so when you're working with someone as a divorce therapist, a divorce coach, what does that look like?
So I always say, so here's the difference. Therapy is very much about looking at your past and figuring out how your past is impacting your present. Coaching is about moving towards your future. So I am, just like any other kind of coach, I'm your accountability partner. So if you're leaving a session with me and we have 2 or 3 steps that I want you to do to kind of get your divorce moving or get you moving towards a decision as to whether or not you're going to stay in your marriage, because some people do come to me who are contemplating divorce, and we haven't taken those steps, I have to know why. Like, what's getting in the way? Is it guilt? Is it emotion? Is it fear? And trying to get people unhooked so they can move through and move on to a better place in their life.
Now, when I first heard about what you do, I thought that might be kind of depressing to work with people going through divorce.
You did say that to
me. but you seem to be real excited about how, because I love how you gave us that paradigm shift, that differentiator between what therapy is, looking in the past, and coaching. I kind of think about it as momentum is running, motivation. Motivation is running away from something in the past or running away from something scary, and inspiration is being called forth, being inspired, being pulled forth.
Absolutely.
So that's a beautiful distinction. Thank you for helping me with that.
Yeah, so, and I always tell the story, when I was going through my own high conflict divorce, I would go meet with my therapist, and I would talk about how awful my ex was and how awful the process was, and he was a great therapist, but he would support me. And I would leave that every session more angry, more anxious, more hypervigilant. And what I really needed was for somebody to say, okay, we got to put these emotions in check so that you can make some good decisions for yourself through your divorce. And that's what coaching is about. So I do address emotions. People are always afraid that I don't touch on emotions, but it's let's put these in a place where we can help you make some good decisions, not reactive decisions.
That's fascinating. I have a client that I'm working with who's a real estate agent. And when you talk about putting emotions in check, it's so important for all of us. When she was talking with me yesterday about, she was very emotionally charged about a deal, you know, and I was telling her, we need to be the calm in the storm.
Right, absolutely.
We need to keep the emotions out of it. So what are some of the things that you actually help people through?
So probably my ideal client is typically a woman that's dealing with a high conflict divorce. Some people come in and their soon-to-be ex has been diagnosed with bipolar or borderline or narcissism. And so I'm helping that person not only deal sometimes with abusive situations, but helping them also create new boundaries with their soon-to-be ex, and also helping them help their children so that they can come out the other side thriving and also go from being a victim to a survivor and in charge of their life. So for some of my clients, that's actually the first time that they've been able to do that.
Well, I know setting boundaries is a big one for me. You know, people meet me and they think, oh, she's so in control and she's so bam, but boundaries are really a difficult thing. Talk to me about how you help them to set boundaries. Give me an example.
So, oh gosh, I could give you so many. So this often happens too. People will come to me post-divorce because they're still feeling emotionally triggered by their ex. And my clients are smart women. They know that they don't want to be this angry and be feeling this way. So just recently I met with a woman, and what I realized is she was still on many, many levels taking care of her narcissistic ex. So she would be rageful at him, but she would bite her tongue and in many ways enable him to have really bad, poor behavior. And on some level she was doing that because she wanted to protect the children from his true self. So part of it is educating her on how she can say no and what she can disentangle herself from. Because this is a woman that wants to go on and date somebody else. And I'm like, you're not ready to be dating unless we get free and clear of this so that she's putting herself first and moving forward.
Sounds like a lot of your clients are divorcing from narcissists.
Yeah.
That's got to be a sticky, icky wicket.
It is. So I refer to it as the silent abuse because it's not something the courts recognize. It's not something that people know a lot about. And it's really hard to diagnose. I mean, attorneys are not trained on how to diagnose someone with narcissism.
Have you ever heard of gaslighting?
Absolutely. Yep.
I wasn't even aware that I was in that last year when I was in a relationship, that I was all being as part of a gaslighting and the whole narcissism, and it's something that you don't see, and you're right. I remember saying, I wish he would just punch me in the face and people could just see it, because if they saw it, then they would know it. But the verbal abuse, I kind of felt like it was like I was an emotional hostage.
Absolutely.
Emotional hostage situation.
Right.
You know, and I don't mean people should get punched in the face. I just felt like if somebody could actually see it,
well, then it would
they
make
would believe
sense.
me. They would validate it.
Right. So that's, again, this week I was talking to one of my clients because this is so common. Everybody's fear is, I am terrified when I get to court that the judge and the attorney is not going to see how sick my ex is. Because people who are narcissistic, they tend to be very charming, persuasive, attractive, successful. Our culture definitely supports a lot of those traits. It's valued in our culture.
They'll even vote one in.
Absolutely. So it's really hard to feel confident going into the courtroom. People are terrified they're going to lose custody of their children. So.
And it happens so often. So let's talk about the other side might be narcissistic. But what can you do to help your clients actually own responsibility for their side of the street?
Right. So this is my little spiel that I say, and I feel like I'm a recovering codependent myself. I think when people come from dysfunction, they typically go one of two paths. One is the narcissistic route. The other is the codependent / empath / enabler. I mean, you can call it whatever you want. And so part of it is helping these people work through where did this, in some ways that is therapy, where did this come from? But let's change that. Why do you have to be in service to other people? How about just you're worthy enough, just who you are? Because otherwise what happens is people go out and then they marry second, third, fourth. They keep doing the same pattern with other people and they're miserable. So we have to break the cycle by educating them on what narcissistic abuse is, setting boundaries, having self-esteem, self-worth, and creating your life for yourself, not
Claiming
somebody
their
else.
value.
Absolutely.
So what are some steps that you help them to do to claim their value?
I think it's like digging deep. It's, for some people, it's rediscovering parts of themselves that they lost touch with. I had a client and she broke down in my office and talked about how she loved painting and she hadn't painted for 50 years.
50 years?
Yes, and she went back and she's showing in coffee shops now, and she's really reclaimed her life on her terms.
So awesome.
Versus being a mom and being a wife. That, like, this is what I want and need in my life.
I know for me, I love to dance.
Yes.
I love to go out and dance.
I know, we have to go dancing.
Yeah, go dancing.
I know.
And when I go to the club, I go because of the lights and the music and the atmosphere. I am not there to be picked up or pick up. I don't even talk to anybody. I literally don't even look anybody in the eye. I'm doing my own thing and I'm journey dancing. And when I was in that relationship, it was not accepted. It could not do it. And I said, the person that you fell in love with is slowly slipping away because I'm not able to express myself at all, ever, anywhere. And so for her to find her artistic side and for me to step back, I remember when I first started dancing again, when I got out of that relationship, I was like, for me to not dance is like to clip a bird's wings.
Absolutely.
I
know. And it's your creative side. Your creative side is your healing side.
Right.
It's so. Well, good for you for stepping out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you do to help them step back into dating? Because I'm sure that's a big part of it too.
So I will say most of my clients come to me and they've never done online dating. They're, And
we're not advocating online dating. It's one way of doing it. There's so many ways to do it.
There's so many different ways. I actually, I really encourage people to get on Meetup because I think that's the best way to meet people because you're doing an activity that you have something in common with somebody else already. You can do online dating. There's definitely ways to do it. But I literally help people get their photo done. My friend Linda Jennings will do the photos. I look at their profile, I help them with what they're writing out, and I actually educate around how do you screen people and how do you set up a safe date. I usually encourage go out, have one drink at lunch, and that's it. You go home after that. You're not going to somebody's house on a first date. So it's a little bit of education. And again, it's a little bit about helping people define who would be a good partner for them. So if somebody's going out dating and their mindset is, I'm here to see if you're a good person for me, versus, oh my gosh, I need to make this man like me, I hope he likes me, I hope he likes me, you're gonna have a very different mindset and very different behaviors on the date.
Very different. I actually interviewed Susan Trotter, PhD, on the show about a month or so ago. And we talked a lot about dating, obviously, because that's what she does.
Yeah. So
with the online profile, as a personal branding, marketing person myself in business,
you must look.
I did a Facebook Live about 4 months ago. Cami, how does business marketing compare to online dating? And I'm so glad to hear that you're helping them with their headshots and to capture their essence. There's nothing worse than starting out with a picture of a flower. Or a picture of a dog.
Or a very old picture.
A very old picture.
Yeah.
Or 8 pictures of the same, like guys will do that. Like they get this weird look.
I could just give you a list of what the guys do wrong.
We could make a whole 4-hour show about that.
I'm going to say, girl, guys, stop putting pictures with other women. Guys always want to, I don't know if it's because they want to show that they're attractive and they're with a group of beautiful women, but most women see that and they're like, next. I
think it's weird when they put a first photo with them and 2 or 3 or 4 other guys on the golf course or something. You don't even know which one it is.
Absolutely.
And what does that say about that person? Are they hiding? Are they wanting you to think it's somebody else? And then you'll like, I don't know. Like I go into the whole psychology
Generic
of it too.
profiles are also a big, you know, I'm going to write the profile that everybody likes. It's not going to help
Walks
you.
on the beach.
Yes, adventure.
So talk to me about some of the things that you encourage your ladies and gentlemen to do to get out and meet people.
Well, it's really pushing past your comfort zone. So everybody has excuses why they're not dating, right? I'm going to focus on being a parent. I'm going to date when I lose 10 pounds. I'm going to date when I'm not worried about money. I'm going to, and they make all these excuses, and they're 5 and 10 years post-divorce, and you know their kids are getting older, and I'm like, listen, you came to me for a reason. We got to figure out what's going on. It's really putting yourself out there.
So speaking of they came to you, how does someone normally find you? I don't mean your website, but how does that happen?
So most of my clients actually find me through Facebook, and it's just my personal Facebook. It's Catherine Blake, CATHARINE. And we actually will be starting an online divorce support group in September. So we have a lot of women who are interested in doing that. But that's usually the best place to get me. I post a lot of articles, helpful information, resources. You'll see everything. You'll see my daughter. You'll see that I teach Zumba. I'm an open book.
Now, how do they just randomly find you on Facebook, though? Like,
it's friend of. I mean, I frequently get messages. I heard you're a divorce coach. My friend told me about you. And I'm also involved in a lot of other kinds of groups too.
Right. Like, yeah. Tell me about
women's networking groups. I also teach at a lot of the gyms, so I have access to gym members. I do work for the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. So even being part of those other groups that have nothing to do with divorce, people still know my name and then come through Facebook to connect with me.
For sure. Now, what about speaking? Do you do any speaking?
We do host events. So I'd love to do more speaking. You can help me with that.
I can help you with that.
We do host events. We have divorce boot camps, and we have divorce resource night, and it's a chance to get free information from professionals about how to get through your divorce. As well, we have a singles night that we're hosting in a couple months in Andover. We have topic-specific workshops, divorce retreats. So we're always presenting.
Do you have your own meetup group?
We advertise on Meetup, but not a separate group.
You don't have your own meetup group? Mm-mm. Girl, we need to talk.
We do.
We need to talk.
I know, you gotta.
So who has, whether you're on Facebook Live or on this show as it airs for the next generation to come, who has groups that could use Kat to come and explain to them about the benefits of working with a divorce coach? Right? So one thing is to just put it out there and ask, let people know that this is what you do. So what are 3 main takeaways that when somebody works with you, when they give me an example of where somebody was and where they are after they've worked with you. Give me an actual example. You don't have to use their name.
Absolutely. So I had a woman come in. She came in a few years ago, and she was really trying to figure out whether she should leave her marriage. 3 children. Her husband had a history of legal trouble with alcohol and was somewhat emotionally abusive. I probably worked with her for about 8 months before she finally made a decision. It was really hard for her, and we looked at all aspects of her life that would be impacted to leave. So interestingly enough, when she filed for divorce at the time, her husband was quite mad to hear she was working with a divorce coach, and he let me know about it because he felt that I was swaying her towards divorce. And as they went through their divorce, he was making all kinds of allegations about her being not a great parent, just really pulling up anything and everything he could find. So I call it the throw and see what sticks, because some attorneys do use that technique to kind of wear down the other person. So I kept telling her, don't even respond. Don't even respond. These are details that the attorney does not care about. The attorney doesn't care that your child had diaper rash one time. Your attorney doesn't care that you slept over your friend's house because you had 2 glasses of wine. They don't care about that stuff. So she just didn't respond appropriately to the allegations from her husband's attorney. They got through the divorce. She found a job. She also had been a stay-at-home mom for many years. Connected with a group of other single women, so she formed a network of her own. And I actually received an email from her husband post-divorce thanking me for saving them so much money. in the divorce.
That's a great testimony.
He said, you probably saved us tens of thousands of dollars. He said, I was so angry. I was, he said, I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't thinking straight. I was so emotional. And he goes, but looking back, I realized that you saved both of us quite a bit of money.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I have a client that is a mediator.
Yep.
Real estate mediator. And it's amazing. You don't have to have an attorney. I didn't even know that. So what's the difference between what you do and a mediator does?
So a mediator is just taking care of the legal aspects. So you've got to figure a divorce is really a business transaction. They look at it as if you're breaking up a business.
Sure.
And it's all about numbers and splitting up assets. And yeah, there definitely is childcare and parenting time. But the difference is that I'm kind of digging a little bit deeper. I know more about the emotions, more about the history, and I help them get organized so that when they do meet with their mediator and or attorney, they're able to just get down to the business of it. Like, I will deal with the emotions, I will deal with the self-care, I'll deal with how are we going to get through this, I'll deal with how are you going to make your decisions. But the mediator wants to just do the business end of the divorce, really. So the good ones. So that's what I mean. I think, what I say to my attorneys that I work with, I say I give you a credible client, because they're not going to be calling you 20 times during the week and tell you about the crazy thing that their ex did. They're not going to be coming into a four-way meeting falling apart emotionally, because that loses them credibility and standing sometimes when you're talking about a parenting plan. So a good attorney really appreciates that.
So do you work with a lot of divorce attorneys?
Yep. I do.
Who else is on your team?
So we have a real estate agent. We have financial analysts. We have everybody. We have Reiki, yoga, photographer. Susan's our dating coach at Vesta. We have massage therapists, stylist.
I can see how, especially with the real estate background and the attorneys and stuff like that, that it would be very beneficial to have you refer someone, because you've helped to take down the emotion to a much, because God knows people that are emotionally charged are difficult to deal with.
Oh, absolutely.
So a referral from you is somebody who's, okay, let's just take care of the transaction.
Right, absolutely. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, there's things with real estate that I didn't even know about, like you don't want the home to look divorced. Did you know about that? So if there's only, female clothes in the closet, we actually ask that they bring in male clothing, because we don't want, if people know it's a divorce situation, they often lowball on the price they offer.
That's fascinating. 15 years in real estate, and I never even thought of that.
We'll even put fake pictures of couples together if we have to, and display them. So yeah, Heather Rogers, I do a lot of work with in Newburyport. She went through a divorce, and she's really sensitive to the different aspects of it, and she's really great.
So we know that you help people get the emotion out so that they can make decisions that aren't emotionally driven. What are a couple of other things that people get from working with you?
I'm your cheerleader. I'm going to remind you that you're going to get through this. It's temporary, and that you're going to come out the other end better and thriving. So, and I'm very open with my clients about my own mistakes that I made. I actually coach my clients. I educate them, like, here's the biggest mistakes people make in divorce. I am going to help you not make those mistakes, because I made probably every single one of them.
Which is way different and better than having a bitch session with your friend.
Oh, absolutely.
Talk to me about the difference between talking to you and talking to your friend.
I am so glad you asked that. So I always talk to people about the lizard brain. So when we get angry, we literally use this part of our brain. It's our fight or flight mode, and our whole body is inflamed, our heart's beating faster. It takes 2 hours to calm yourself back down to baseline. So when you're going through a divorce, I mean, you could have an 8 a.m. call with your attorney, you could have a nasty text from your soon-to-be ex at lunchtime, you could have another call from your attorney, you get a call from the school that your child's not focused at school. And so people are walking around for months in this very high-stressed, inflamed kind of way. And it's not healthy. So when you talk to your friends, and your friends are awesome, but the problem is when you're telling that story over and over and over again, it's almost like you're re-traumatizing yourself, and you're constantly in that hypervigilant state. So there is a time and a place to get that out, but again, it's like getting it out in measured doses, getting it out in ways where it's not dictating your life.
So do you actually counsel them, hey, you don't need to talk to 8 friends a day about this and keep rehashing it, etc.?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I do.
So what else is something that people get? Like ultimately at the end of the day, I mean, clearly they sleep better, their health is better.
And I mean, I do, as a general coach too, I also do a lot of work around mindset. So that's even, you know, as far as thinking, what are the thinking patterns that are leading me through my divorce? But it's also your mindset in general. How do you go through life anyway? How do you take care of yourself before and after the divorce? So it's also, you know, general coaching kind of strategies as well.
Reframing, repositioning, re-engage. We are in Mercury in retrograde right now.
Oh, I know.
So.
Oh, I feel it.
We're all about the reframing and the revisiting and the restructuring and all of that.
Well, I mean, even if you look at the words of, you know, my divorce is ruining my life, and I know this is extreme, but this is also a chance for you to take charge and take control of your life. This is a chance for you to reorganize. This is a chance for you to make your life more fulfilling for you, for you as an individual, not just your spouse.
Recreate, reinvent, reinvigorate.
Yep.
It is. It's a new beginning, and it should be exciting.
Absolutely.
And to actually reframe and create the affirmations that are different. Instead of this sucks or my divorce is bad, it's, wow, look at this opportunity I have. Look at this golden opportunity to step into a new way of being.
Absolutely.
And with someone like you, they get the chance to do that. So what is a book that you would recommend for people to read?
Oh, so I love Bill Eddy. He's done a lot of...
Bill Eddy.
I think his company is Unhooked Media, so he does a lot of work on dealing with high conflict personalities. And he has one book in particular called Splitting that's very, very helpful. It's kind of and it's also kind of a little bit of a workbook on getting through your divorce.
It's interesting you say high conflict. A friend of mine is Bill Sterle, S-T-I-E-R-L-E, I think, and he does conflict resolution.
Oh, okay.
And there's a lot of material out there about that. And even if it's about corporate conflict resolution, you can transfer it over into this.
Absolutely. Getting to Yes. That's
Getting
a book
to
that
Yes.
lots of people read. Yep.
Yeah, all of those. So tell everybody where they can find you.
I am in Andover, Mass, and they can look up my website. It's catblakecdc.com, Certified Divorce Coach. Or you can look me up at Facebook, Catherine Blake, C-H-E-H-A-R-I-N-E.
Are you doing a lot of Facebook Lives there?
I'm doing tons of Facebook Live, yeah.
Awesome.
Love it.
And you should be. You're lovely.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. So that brings us to the end of another Happiness Jungle TV show. We are happy in the jungle. Are you? Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Happiness Jungle TV show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.